Hey, it's Ray. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are reviewing one of my favorite scary movies, John Coyet-Serra's 2005 hit House of Wax. Let's get into it. The movie opens in 1974. We see a mom in the kitchen melting wax into a face shape for a mask. A child is then shown in his high chair, eating nicely, face cut off. A second child is then seen being carried in by his father. Kicking and screaming, the kid knocks the mask off the counter, it's smashing into pieces. The frustrated parents tie him down in his high chair with belts and duct tape while he kicks and yells, throwing a huge fit. His little wrists even bleeding as the restraints cut into his arms. He scratches mom badly on the hand and catches a super hard slap to the face before the camera cuts. We cut to present day where we meet our group of friends. We have two best friends, Carly and Paige. They're catching up, discussing their possible move to New York City out of their smaller town. Carly recently got into fashion school on a scholarship. Her boyfriend, Wade, comes over, questioning her choice on inviting her brother on their trip that weekend, his name being Nick. He was recently in jail, bailed out by Paige's boyfriend, Blake, who is also Nick's best friend. Lastly, we have Nick's goofy friend, Dalton. He has a video camera and just tapes everything, and everyone's annoyed by him the whole time, basically. They hop on the road, Paige and Blake in his truck, and the other four in Wade's car. Some banter is thrown between Wade and Nick. They're also taking a shortcut. This trip they're taking is for a football game the next day. However, they're still far and are super tired, and as the night comes to an end, they decide to camp for the night, deciding they'll just wake up in the morning and head back on the road. On the way to the campsite, we see them pass an old banged up sign for a place called Trudy's Wax Museum. When the gang gets to a good camping spot, they unload. Nick grabs a beer, Blake grabs a football, and they start playing a casual game of football when the ball lands by Nick. Instead of casually throwing it back, he launches it to Blake and flips Wade off. They really don't like each other. Before things can escalate, Carly rushes over to her sibling and her boyfriend, telling Wade to beat it. Nick blames Carly for not covering for him after he apparently stole a car, this being the reason for his recent arrest. Carly tries to talk some sense into her brother, and we learn he actually did have great potential, but unfortunately lost a football scholarship, was kicked out of school, and was not really getting along with his parents. Nick remarking Carly is clearly the good twin, and he is the evil one. The wind blows and the whole group gets a whiff of something dead coming from deeper in the forest. Later that night, a truck interrupts their fun, pulling up and beaming his bright lights at the group. Unable to scare away the truck with their yelling, Nick decides to throw his beer bottle at it, breaking one of his headlights. The truck, oddly, slowly just backs away from where it came. That night, while everyone's asleep in their tents, Carly gets spooked, feeling someone is watching them. The next morning, Blake wakes all his friends up yelling that they're late for the game. The girls head into the forest to pee and get a whiff of that smell again of rotting flesh. Naturally, Carly follows the smell. Back at camp, it seems someone has messed with Wade's car. Carly ends up slipping and falling down a hill into a pile of roadkill, completely disgusted and yelling for help as she is trapped and cannot get out. Wade eventually gets her out, and the group catches up. At that moment, a man in a truck filled with that roadkill drives up and unloads the fresh carcass. He jokes around with the group, basically telling them to chill out, just some dead deer and stuff. Dalton announces his camera is gone as well, and Wade about his missing fan belt for his car. The creepy man suggesting another man named Bo may have one down at the station. Wade isn't leaving his car, and Carly ain't leaving Wade, so they go with him, as they feel their options are limited. Blake's main focus is the football game, right? So he heads back to camp with Paige, Dalton, and Nick. Nick being a nice brother, giving his shirt to Carly as hers was dirty due to the fall. While Wade and Carly ride with the man, there is clear tension in the truck. They literally know nothing about this man besides he dumps roadkill in a hole all day, and also don't know where they're going technically. But they're not too worried as they figure it's not the same truck that stalked them the night before because the headlight wasn't broken. The man is friendly enough, telling the couple about the town where they're headed to, called Ambrose. He all of a sudden stops, alarming the couple but informing them he just has another drop-off. They ask him to let them out so they can just walk the rest of the way. Taking some offense, the man grabs his knife from the dashboard, walks slowly around to their side of the car, and says, "Well, get out then." The couple eventually reaches the town on foot and pass normal small town things, a pet store, a pageant sign for Miss Ambrose, and finally the gas station. That is vacant. In the middle of the day, Carly gets a call from Paige. Paige letting her know they are actually just coming back, canceling the entire football game as there is no way they will make it through the traffic in time, planning to meet back at the campsite after Carly and Wade grab what they need. No one shows up to the gas station, so Wade and Carly decide to try and find someone to help them. They see a church and upon entering, interrupt an ongoing funeral. The first people they've seen in this town. A man comes outside and confronts them on how rude their actions are to interrupt such an event, informing them he is the Beau they were referenced earlier, telling them someone close to him passed, but he is willing to help and will meet the two back at the station after he puts the casket down. In the meantime, they decide to go check out the famous House of Wax in the town. The camera then cuts to someone sculpting a woman out of clay and listening to classical music. But he pauses when he hears the couple enter the museum from the basement. Wade finding it cool that literally everything in the place is made of wax, but Carly is rather creeped out. All over the museum, articles of a famous wax sculptor named Trudy are hung on the walls. As Carly looks around more and more, she finds multiple works done by an artist named Vincent as well. They also find two high chairs right before Carly catches the artist from downstairs' glimpse in a dirty mirror watching them. It startles her and Wade goes to check it out, finding nothing. They then go back to the gas station and still no one is there, so they help themselves. The one-size fan belt Wade needs is of course missing. Beau pops out of nowhere, suggesting they just go up to his house to get the size he needs. And although Wade questions it, Beau is quick with an excuse, telling him a new shipment just came in. Sure, Jan. As the three walk to the house, Beau lets them know that one of Trudy's sons was Vincent after Carly asks about him because of all the work she saw in the museum. Beau also tells her that Trudy and her husband moved to this town after Trudy got a cyst in her brain. She was apparently famous in the town for her artwork but went crazy, and her husband, the doctor, tied her up to the bed and shot himself, leaving their sons to foster care. Reminding Wade he needed to use the restroom, Beau invites him into his house, telling Carly to wait in the truck and he will go grab the fan belt. Back at the camping grounds, Blake and Paige want to get their freak on, so they give Dalton and Nick the keys to his car to go pick the couple up from where they got in the man's truck earlier that day. Dalton and Nick have a discussion in the car where we learn it wasn't Nick who stole the car that got him arrested, but Dalton. Nick actually covering for Dalton when the cops asked, and this being the reason he is now seen as like the bad guy. Back at Beau's, things start getting creepy. Wade's snooping through random items in the house while Carly grows impatient outside waiting in the truck. She eventually gets out, walking over to the front door where she catches a glimpse of the truck from the front, and she sees it is the truck with the broken headlight, aka the same truck that followed them into the campsite the other night. It's a callback to her brother having her back, as he was the one who threw the bottle at the truck to everyone's dismay. Carly immediately tries to get Wade's attention by honking the horn, but it's too late for Mr. Wade. He gets locked in a room and we see someone slice his Achilles with scissors before being caught by the quiet artist we saw back at the museum. Carly tries calling Paige to warn her and gets a few words in, but Beau comes out the house. Carly quickly hops in the car, locking it and not letting him in, him trying to play it off like he'll call the cops, her saying, "You're the guy from the campsite." Trying to drive away, it gets stuck in a ditch and she loses her phone. Carly barely escapes Beau and has no choice but to just run into the town and hide at this point. We then see Vincent dragging Wade down to his workstation, prepping him for a sculpting, cutting his clothes off, injecting him with some sort of liquid, and waxing all the hair off his face in one swoop. He sits him in a chair and puts Wade's head in a vise and covers him head to toe in some hot, steamy wax. Carly is running around the town and sees the church again, remembering the funeral going on from earlier. When she rushes in to beg for help, she runs to each person and eventually realizes everyone in the church is a sculpture. The piano player, the priest, the attendees, all wax, and are all just set up to look as if they're attending a service. Beau comes in and Carly hides. He apologizes to his mother in the casket for the disturbance. He eventually catches Carly taking her back to the gas station and strapping her down to a chair and blasting some metal to drown out her screams. Dalton and Nick finally make it to the town and of course decide to split up to cover more ground in the search for their friends. Carly is trapped underground with Beau And to shut her up, he super glues her lips shut, leaving her down there to go deal with Nick and Dalton. Nick meets Bo outside and is shocked to see an actual human being finally. He asks about his sister and Wade, Bo giving him the runaround saying he hasn't seen them and that they should go ask his brother Vincent if he has seen them. But Nick knows a sketchy guy when he sees him, you guys, and instead of going with Bo, he questions his statements. Carly, still strapped to the chair and unable to talk, tries her hardest to get her brother's attention, sticking her finger out of the crate, wiggling it around. Bo seeing it before Nick cuts it right off with his clippers, putting her finger in his pocket, suggesting he and Nick move away from the gas station and go check the house. Carly doesn't give up though and has no choice but to force her super glued lips open. It's super bloody and super gross, but she eventually gets them unglued and yells as loud as she can for Nick, and he springs into action. He beats Bo to the door and successfully locks him out of all entrances, going down to get Carly. Dalton makes his way to the famous House of Wax, continuing his search for his friends. He thinks he sees Wade sitting at the piano and like an idiot just starts trying to get him out of there, as he puts it, picking at Wade's face only to find flesh underneath. He doesn't understand because it looks just like Wade, but he simply cannot move anything but his eyeballs. He is trying to beg Dalton to stop, but obviously cannot speak. After Dalton completely ruins his new art piece, Vincent is pissed. And of course, Dalton gets snatched up by the masked artist to be added to the collection of wax figures. Carly and Nick hear what they think is Bo leaving from the basement as he frees her from the chair she was tied to. Nick and Carly try the phones, but of course they're down. Carly tries to explain the wax craze going on in the town to her brother, it fully sinking in when they visit what seemed to be an old lady pulling her curtain back earlier. But of course, she is a full wax figure hooked up to a machine rigged to move when movement is detected. Creepy. Back at the camp, we have our sexy couple, Paige stripping for Blake, and has to cut her performance short when the music from outside the tent cuts off. Blake, going out to inspect the music, gets distracted by Carly's voicemail earlier. Inside the tent, Vincent takes a peek and startles Paige, her running out as fast as she can, passing Blake's dead body on the ground. She ends up running into a garage where the brothers keep the cars from all their victims. She finds a crate of old cell phones that do not work, to her disappointment. Arming herself with a rusted pipe, Vincent suddenly slices her Achilles from the floor below, sending Paige running for her life, hiding inside one of the cars. Things are quiet for a while until Vincent opens up one of the car doors and she actually gets him good in the face. Him taking a second to fix his mask/face. You see him like doing this with his face, obviously, and it caught him off guard and he takes a second to fix it. But he gets his revenge quickly, spotting her from the other side of the car, throwing his spear at her, sending it straight through her head, killing Paige. Back at Ambrose, Nick arms himself with an arrow shooter, Bo spotting them and firing his own weapon, missing. Nick and Carly take shelter in the nearby theater. One of the smarter decisions in the film, Carly takes her hiding place among the many wax figures in the audience, watching a non-stop showing of whatever happened to Baby Jane. Bo just barely sees her, finally firing his gun again, but Nick shoots him twice good with the arrow when they run off. They're trying to figure out a plan, and Carly doesn't realize just yet that she has actually already seen Vincent. The two discussing if Bo even really has a brother, or if he was just lying to Nick. They then decide to stick together and search Bo's truck for Carly's phone. Nothing there, of course. With no choice, they go to Bo's house, the one Wade went into and never came back out of. They also don't know just yet that Wade and Dalton are wax now, so they decide to take a quick look for them before just ditching this Horrorville altogether. While searching Bo's, Carly finds old photos of two twin boys, conjoined at birth. The photos showing them separate when older, but one of their faces was messed up, similar to Vincent's. It's at that moment Bo stumbles in, Carly barely finding somewhere to hide before he sees her. He goes to the sink and pulls the first arrow Nick shot him with out of his arm and wraps it in a cloth. Nick in the basement finds the lit up tunnel that leads to Vincent's underground workspace and the wax museum. Next, Vincent pulls up to the house and Carly sees Blake and Paige's bodies in the back of his truck. Bo sees them and starts screaming at Vincent for leaving the house without him and how he knows he's not supposed to go anywhere without him. Vincent leans in, concerned with his brother's arrow in his chest, but Bo tells him to get frustrated. Vincent listening to his brother and walking away to tend to his messed up face while Beau calls him a freak, Carly hearing the whole thing. Vincent taking a heated spoon to adjust his wax face, Beau comes over to his brother in a sweeter tone, pausing, saying, "Mom would be proud," him carrying on what she started, and that the town looks good. Complimenting Vincent on his artwork, saying, "It looks more real now," and that he told him it would, but that there are still two more that they have to track down, that being Carly and Nick, who eventually meet up in the basement, Nick leading her to the tunnel where she tells him about Blake and Peach. In the tunnel, Vincent's work machine is going off, so the two can barely see or hear anything. So of course Nick just starts hitting switches. The town's lights going crazy, as this is obviously how they control the theatrics that go on to make the town come to life. This all spotted from Beau from inside the house, giving away Nick and Carly's location. Underground, the two find Dalton completely covered in wax, and in the beginning stages of his transformation as Wade once was. Them realizing he's gone, Carly cries on her brother's shoulder. But they have zero time. Vincent rushes down to get them. Nick goes at him as Carly is pushed out the way. He subdues Vincent for a short moment, and after telling Carly to run, knocks over the big crane of hot wax, setting everything on fire. The two surface in the house of wax for the last time in the film. Carly noticing the high chairs again, and Beau's name being the one printed with the blood-stained belt straps. He was the little boy in the beginning being tied up and slapped around. Beau shows up, and Nick and he get into a bloody scuffle. Beau stabs him with his knife in the leg, and Nick goes down. Carly, taking the lead, starts bashing him all over his body with a baseball bat until Beau is done, dead on the floor, before Vincent comes in and sees. Completely distraught over his brother, he goes straight for Carly. The entire building going up in flames, mixing with the wax, makes it really hard for Carly and Vincent to get around. But she eventually scrambles up to the upstairs bedroom. When Vincent traps her in the room, she actually tries to reason with him. She begs and pleads with him, stating he is not a freak like Beau said, that he is an artist, and that Beau was lying to him. But it's not good enough. Vincent snaps out of it, going after her again, just in time for Nick to rush in and scuffle with him. Eventually knocking his mask off, we see Vincent's real face for the first time. Half of it basically gone, assuming the boy's doctor dad did a little operation on the conjoined Beau and Vincent when they were babies. This being the reason the mom was making a mask for the boy in the first shot of the film. Nick gets good hands on Vincent while Carly delivers the final stabbings, getting Vincent good a couple times in the gut. Nick kicking him off, Vincent goes flying down to the first level, dead, and lands right on top of his brother Beau. Conjoined once again, guys. Carly and Nick quickly realize the house is crumbling down around them and smartly dig out of the wax-made walls while it comes down, finally making it outside and to safety. Daylight comes and finally some help. Lots of policemen, photographers, and ambulances on the scene due to the amount of flames and fire that appeared. Nick busy trying to gain possession of Dalton's camera, and Carly distraught, wondering how no one could ever know about this place. As Nick and Carly finally drive away in the ambulance, the twins are finally safe and sound. Or are they? Back at the scene, the sergeant gets a report that Trudy did not have 2 sons. She had 3. The ambulance passing the creepy man the gang met that first morning at the roadkill dump, waving goodbye. Ugh, so crazy, you guys. Poor Vincent, right? Poor Beau. I mean, poor both of them. I mean, shit. It takes on the evil twin, good twin thing and spins it on you. Because, of course, you see the guy with the fucked up face and the long-ass hair, and he's all creepy in the basement sculpting. It's like, yeah, that's the bad guy, clearly. But no, it's his normal-looking brother who's the crazy one, who blasts metal while Vincent listens to classical, okay? Total opposites. That's so cool. I love it. And it's cool how, like, Vincent, when we first see him, he's carving like a woman. He's sculpting a woman, and it's out of clay. You know, it's not like a human being he's messing with down there. It's just a normal guy doing doing art and stuff. And poor Bo got him, lied to him and convinced him to like kill people, make his art more real and whatnot. Bo, you liar. Ugh. And Nick, good twin versus bad twin. You're not so evil, buddy. You risked your life multiple times to save your sister. Okay? And throughout the movie also he says Wade's not that bad, So he doesn't really hate Wade. He's not really a bad guy, and neither is Vincent. That's the point. Beautiful movie. Awesome job, John Sarah. Love it. That was it, you guys. Tell me what you guys think. If you have seen House of Wax, comment down below how you felt about it. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Was it just okay? Let me know. And if you haven't yet, please thumbs up this video. It really helps. And please subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. And if you want to see more videos just like this one. Thank you so much for watching, you guys. This has been a great recap. I will see you guys next week. I hope you guys had a great Halloween last couple weeks ago. And have a beautiful Thanksgiving with your family and friends. And I will see you next time. Thank you. Bye, guys.